T-Mobile's Essentials plan includes unlimited hotspot, so in theory, you can share your phone's connection to all of your devices on the go as much as you want. However, as we can see here, hotspot is capped at 3G speeds, meaning it should be practically useless and unusable. So to find out if these 3G speeds on the hotspot data are actually usable or not, we're going to run some speed tests by connecting this phone's hotspot to another device. So as you can see right now, this phone is using the T-Mobile Essentials plan, and as you can see by my dynamic island, I am tethered to another device, my Galaxy S24 Ultra. And as you can see on the Wi-Fi networks, my iPhone 16 Pro is connected here. So we're going to go down with these apps and progressively get to more intensive tasks and find out if it's usable or not really. But first, we're going to run a baseline speed test and just see what kind of speed we're working with, because it's supposed to be 600 kilobit per second speeds, and right off the bat you can see we're getting just lower than that, around 400 kilobits per second, and again less than 600 kilobits per second on the upload. So I can confirm for sure that the speed cap on the hotspot is definitely enforced, so that's what your speeds are going to look like. So the next thing I'm going to do is run a test on nperf, which kind of does a whole bunch of different things. It's really well rounded, and then it just gives a definitive number at the end based on running a whole bunch of different tasks. So we're going to start a test on there and see what we get. And right off the bat, we are definitely getting below that 600 kilobit per second cap for our download speed, and getting into the upload speed, that's actually really low. It's about half of the allotted speed. Now we've gotten just a bit over the 600 kilobit per second cap, but yeah, overall the cap is definitely being enforced here. So now what it's doing is testing some commonly used websites. So we've got Google, Facebook, Amazon, X, and Wikipedia. So it's kind of running through all those and getting a number on things like loading times and latency and all that type of stuff. And it looks like we actually got a timeout on Facebook. It just couldn't even handle that. And it also looks like it's struggling with Amazon. It's also not looking good for X, another timeout. And now we're actually moving on to YouTube, where we're streaming video starting at 360p, then it's going to test 720p, and then it's going to try 1080. It actually seems like the 360p video played fine, so now it's trying 720, and I think this is where it's really going to start to struggle. Yep, so definitely some buffering going on here, and now it is just frozen. This is definitely where we're starting to see it struggle. And with that, we got a score of 3,422 endpoints. Taking a look at, again, our download and upload speeds, basically right around that 600 kilobit per second 3G speed. Pretty poor scores for browsing at 26% and streaming at just over 27. And just for a reference point, I ran the same nperf test on my home Wi-Fi, where we got 125,710 points, much better scores on browsing at 89% and streaming video at 97. All those websites that kind of dropped out, like Amazon and Facebook and X, they actually loaded really quickly. I'm not expecting it to be super fast. Again, it is capped at 600 kilobit per second speeds, but this just shows you the massive difference compared to regular speeds that you'd normally get at your home internet or uncapped speeds on the wireless network versus the capped speeds we're working with the hotspot on T-Mobile Essentials. So now we're back on the T-Mobile Essentials hotspot, and while nperf did some testing of internet browsing and video streaming, I'm going to do some testing of my own, starting with Google, but I'm just going to do a Google search. It actually loaded that pretty quickly, pretty fine. I'm going to check, make sure I'm still on that hotspot. I am, alright. So if you need to quickly Google something, it seems like it's working fine. Pull up like news here. You can see there's a bit of a loading bar, and Google's obviously pretty light, not very resource intensive. What if we go into images? Even the images load pretty quickly. Yeah, you can tell it's slow, you can tell it's limited, but for just basic Googling and maybe some light internet browsing, seems to work fine. Next thing we're going to do is email, so I'm just going to load up Gmail here on this burner email. Looked like it loaded fine. If we open up an email here, we can see it took a little time to load some of the images. If we go into one of these other emails here again, seems like it's working fine. So far it's actually okay for basic light internet browsing and email. But next we're going to move on to something a little more resource intensive, music streaming. So we're going to load up Apple Music here, and right off the bat the album cover just is not loading, but we're going to try playing a song anyway. So there we go, we can see the album cover did load up there. And this is actually taking a little longer than it usually would. There we go. So trying to skip ahead in the song, you can see it's just kind of not doing it. And music stream... I don't want a copyright strike. I was actually kind of surprised because basic internet browsing and email loaded up fine, and music streaming is also supposed to be a less resource intensive task similar to these, so I was actually surprised it buffered and took that long to load, but it did eventually go through. But now we're going to get on with the big tasks. So we're going to go into YouTube. It did kind of fail the NPerf streaming test, but I'm going to try to do some streaming of my own. So right off the bat on YouTube, these thumbnails are kind of taking a little while to load, but they are coming in. I guess I'll watch my own video again. We can see my profile picture loaded up. Oh, there we go. We got a preview of the video. But this is where it might actually start to notice some problems. Right off the bat, this ad is really low resolution. I don't know if you can tell. If we actually skip and go through, let's go in and check. Yep, automatically defaulted to 360p. And if we go into full screen, play the video back, yeah, it is very noticeably poor quality. Now surprisingly, there isn't too much buffering going on like I expected, but it's probably just because it's streaming in such low quality that it kind of doesn't make a difference. So overall, music streaming was a lot worse than I expected, but video was a lot better than I expected. I thought there would be a lot more buffering, and I even expected it kind of just wouldn't work, but it did, so I guess pleasant surprise there. But finally, we're going to do something that's possibly the most resource intensive. We're going to try to download an app. So it seems like the items on the Play Store are kind of loading, but again, a lot of the images, a lot of the bigger things might not be loading as much. Clash Royale. Alright, so we can see here it is 642 megabytes, and we're just going to download it over the network right now. Alright, we're 2 minutes in. It's 1% done. Conclusion: don't try to download big apps or files over T-Mobile Essentials Hotspot. So in conclusion, light internet browsing, email, all works fine over T-Mobile Essentials Hotspot. Music streaming can be a little laggy, there can be some buffering. Overall, might not be the best experience. Video streaming actually works perfectly fine with little to no buffering if you watch in 360p, and actually if you look at YouTube's own recommended guidelines, you'll see that you only need 0.7 megabits per second to sustainably watch 360p content, and as we saw in our speed tests, those are the speeds we got. If you try to bump up the resolution to even 480p or 720p, you're going to experience some real problems. And then downloading apps, I mean, there's no chance. Any apps or big files, you're not going to do it over T-Mobile Essentials 3G hotspot speeds. So should you still get T-Mobile's Essentials plan? Well, if you are a frequent user of the hotspot that really depends on it to do all sorts of things on your other devices on the go, probably not, because you're going to need more than this. But if you don't really frequently use hotspot or only use it for very light tasks, then it could still be a good option for you, and it is honestly a good value for money, especially with the phone deals you can get with it, including the free iPhone 16 deal, which I covered in my last video. So if you enjoyed this video, drop a like and share it with someone else you found it helpful, subscribe so you never miss the next video, and I'll see you there.